everybody, and welcome back to the Dubai Expo 2020, live from the Pavilion Building in Dubai. My name is Ben Ibrahim, your friendly master of ceremonies and moderator right here at this wonderful building, this amazing event where we are attracting fantastic speakers, investors, entrepreneurs, startups, not just from Malaysia, around the world. The good old saying in Malaysia, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, don't think local, think big, go global, over the sea, and then you will profit, God willing, for a long-term sustainable business. It's not a flash in the pan. But I don't want to talk about all the cliches about grit, not giving up, and all the above, and going the distance. Our previous panel did that, or Kylie and Thomas, and which was moderated fantastically by Shahril. And that topic was Malaysia, the gateway to ASEAN. And the three members said it so brilliantly. Malaysia, such a unique country, not just because of our business opportunities, but our religious, cultural, language values that connects us to the world. So fantastic, inspirational session. All the sessions so far, God bless, touch wood, have been absolutely fantastic. Alhamdulillah. And we've got another one coming up very, very shortly. And brace yourself for this one, because this is a bit of a long sentence in terms of the topic. When the only option was to win, well, the only option is to wanting to win, but the topic is when the only option was to win, experience sharing of the entrepreneurs. And we've got top-notch quality group of panel speakers right here. It's going to, well, take our breath away and our minds away, and also give very, very good advice. So this session, back-to-back sessions for our moderator, Shahril Anas, the CEO of MAVCAP. For those of you who are just joining us for the very first time today, I'm just going to recap Shahril's CV. It's pretty long, but I've done a pretty good job, tightening it and saying it in, 5 or 6 sentences. Okay, but Shahril joined MAVCAP in January 2015, bringing with him over 20 years of extensive investment and fundraising experience. He's also a fun guy, having previously worked with EPF, MTDC, and Taraju. Shahril's focus in MAVCAP includes working on establishing more corporate funds, on funds and partnership. He has an economics degree from the International Islamic University in Kuala Lumpur. He very much lives, breathes, and eats this stuff for breakfast, lunch, and tea, and midnight snacks. So I'm not talking about food anymore, because you know what? We Malaysians are always hungry, but right now we're hungry for knowledge. Over to you, Shahril.
Hi guys, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon and good evening in Malaysia. Okay, I try my best to be as lively as before. And I think I don't want to bore you guys with all the biodata. I think you can get all the panelists' biodata via LinkedIn and Google's. And as much as possible, I don't want also to make it academic, because this is all about your experience, especially during the past years, during the pandemic. Yeah, you guys learn or listen or heard about failures, winners. But then again, I think for us today, we want to listen. Previously, I'm very fortunate. Previously, I'm with my GPs, my fund managers. Now I'm with my companies invested by our GPs. So the best job in the world, basically. And I let Darren from the UK to talk a bit about himself, company, and maybe lesson learned during this pandemic. In his part, the loser of this pandemic. To you, Darren.
Thank you, Shahril, and thank you for the opportunity to join here at the Expo, which is a fantastic event, and to share this stage with my esteemed panelists as well. My name's Darren Brown. I'm CEO of iGene. We're a Malaysian-formed tech company. We specialize in quite a niche marketplace, which is dead bodies. We scan, digitize, and find causes of death in deceased people via a technological platform which was developed in Malaysia over a number of years. Clearly, from our point of view, the pandemic fell into our hands a little bit, I guess. It was very interesting to hear the previous speakers talk about positioning yourself and actually digital transformation, making companies which looked stable and solid before are actually now weak, and companies which maybe looked very niche have been transformed by a pandemic. And I believe that iGene actually sit within that bracket we have been transformed as a company. Our growth is 300% up on this time last year, pre-pandemic. Obviously, we think about and pray for the companies that have suffered during the pandemic. We don't gloat on the fact that we've done well out of that, but actually, you know, we did set our stall out to become transformative over a number of years, and the pandemic in that sense has helped us. So we're grateful. We're looking to expand globally. Our main operation in the UK at the moment, even though we're a Malaysian tech. So we are looking to expand globally, and who knows, maybe I think Dr. Nagu yesterday spoke at length about the human relationship with nature's changing, and there may be more pandemics to come if we don't alter our behavior. So from our point of view as a company, we feel we're quite well positioned for the future and for the long term, as we heard about on the previous panelists, who you know, you've got to play the long game, and we think that we're in it and positioned quite well to do so.
Yeah, well, thanks, Darren. I think it's a very, very interesting business to hear about. Mine's been on the other end of the spectrum. We had a situation. We are in the travel business, so I think clearly COVID has taught us a number of lessons here. Yeah, I mean, you know, prior to COVID, so we were in two segments of business. One is leisure travel, which was in outbound travel for people, you know, going world over. And then the second part of the business has been Umrah, which is religious travel, right? Where people from all over the world coming to Makkah and Medina for their religious, you know, trips. And so this is where we were. This pre-COVID was growing exponentially, and then COVID obviously had this big halt on the travel business globally, and so suddenly where we were growing, and just like you, Darren, pre-COVID we were growing at like 350% year on year, and suddenly we had a situation where revenues had to drop to almost zero, and that it continued like that for about 10 months. And we learned an amazing number of lessons during this journey, right? So yeah, whilst it's had its pitfalls, you know, there's been some collateral damage that we've had to take alongside, but I also believe that as an organization, we were really able to focus on what we do best, you know, where we were able to consolidate the organization, make it much leaner, and touch wood, you know, business turns around now, we are now seeing 300% growth month on month. And that's the kind of speed at which travel is kind of coming back, right? And that's really where the journey has been. So it's been a real roller coaster of the sense, you know, where we were right up there, you know, really, you know, profitable, doing very well. And then COVID, flatline, and then we just come out of ICU and kind of started running again. So yeah, that's been our journey, but I'm happy to share more as we talk along.
Okay, Chief Kamarul, your story.
Yeah. Thank you, Shahril. I wish I can be there with all of you guys, but unfortunately here I am in Malaysia. Now, Aerodyne, we are a 7-year-old company. Today we are present in 35 countries. We have offices in 12 countries. We are in every continent today except Arctic and Antarctica. Right. So what do? We are a DT Cube company. The first DT is drone tech. Second DT is data technology, and the third DT is digital transformation. So what do? We use drone to help our corporate clients look after their infrastructure assets, you know, such as power line, grid, road, highway, bridges around the world. We also do agriculture, and I will get into agriculture because that's interesting how actually we gotten into it as well. But other than that, we also do security solutions as well. And especially now during COVID, border monitoring is a big issue. COVID spread through the borders as well. So that's actually one area that we are looking at. We are addressing that serious problem for various countries around the world as well. Now, how are we affected by COVID? To be honest, quite severely. when it first happened a year and a half ago, all our work in hospitality industry flatlined. Everything was put on hold. Some of them, outright cancelled. And even our infrastructure work as well, even though we work in critical assets. Logic says that these assets needs to be taken care of, but all budgets being slashed and all that. So we found ourselves in a very strange situation as well. Today the company is about 650 people. A year ago was about 100, so 500. So at that time, when we found ourselves in a situation where there's about almost 100 of us were without anything to do because of COVID-19. So that's actually a big cost that we have to take care. But these are very important assets, very valuable assets to the organization. We decided not to lay off anybody. And as Einstein always said, behind every crisis, there's opportunity. So we went to the drawing board, started to think about what are the other problem statements that we could address. And indeed, because of COVID, they were two big problem statements that crop up. One of it is agriculture. Agriculture in Malaysia require foreign labor, to take care of the plantations and all that. And this foreign labor was sent back, and the border was also closed as well. So that gives us a lot of opportunity to actually offer mechanization work. And today, we just started 1 year ago. Today, even in agriculture alone, we have 160 people already working on this sector alone. And I can't use percentage because we started with one 1 year ago. Now we are 150 personnel already. So that's like a massive jump. And it's growing very, very fast. And we are also going beyond the shores of Malaysia as well. So that's one. And of course, the second one is actually the one I mentioned earlier as well. So we developed a new solution. All of these spare resources that we had at that time was put into to develop new solution. And we actually launched the solution yesterday at Dubai as well. Our Fulcrum, which is a nested swarm intelligence system. And again, that solution is already being used in Malaysia and being tested now around the world as well. So indeed, with every crisis, there's opportunity. So that's how COVID has affected us.
Okay, we have listened to what actually happened during that point of time, over 18 to 24 months. I think the most famous word during that time for entrepreneurs is pivot, right? And it's easy actually to say on hindsight that you managed to pivot from doing what you actually been doing years to do new stuff. Actually works. Digressing from your original plans or business plan into becoming another animal, or you still stick to your particular business model and business plan. And for MAVCAP, for your information, we actually the first one to pivot. We did our direct investment for the last 10 years, 2001, 2010, but we feel that it only confined us in Asia. So when we say we do a fund of fund models. So we put money, invite other investors to put in at least matching with our money, and get professional managers to manage. So this actually opens up at least South Asia into our portfolio. To my question, does it actually work in your organization? I think Geet would be the best one, because his company from hero to zero, now probably getting back into hero. Are you actually doing the same thing as what you did?
So yeah, I think what we had to realize, and these were very fundamental questions, right? Because there were a few knowns and there were a lot of unknowns, right? In terms of what was happening. So we were in the travel business. The most important question that we were trying to answer back then is, when is COVID going to get over, right? And I think that was the the timeline for it continued to change every month. So in March, we were thinking, this is going to be over by May, March 2019, March 2020. Yeah, 2020. So in March. So, this is this is when COVID started, right? So COVID really started impacting around the world in Feb. We had to take some serious decisions in March, but, while we were kind of thinking about what decisions we take in March, we had to obviously figure out a timeline. It's like, hey, when do we think this thing is going to kind of normalize? And back then, our view was, this may be 3-4 months, 2 months, 3 months. And so we kind of took our decision timeline from a May, June standpoint, right? And we thought, hey, let's make some changes, but then, we also don't kind of cull ourselves to the point that, it becomes difficult to stand up, right? So we kind of took those incremental steps at that time. Very clearly when we reached in May, June, this is going to last for much longer, right? And then we suddenly think, oh, maybe it's the end of the year. And so on and so forth. And, by August, September, we realized, this is probably going to be middle of this year or 2021. And, now we think at least we are seeing, the line kind of flattening out, at least in a lot of the markets. But yeah, we had like 2 or 3 waves everywhere. And so it was actually a very difficult thing to figure out, how do you kind of calibrate the business and from what timeline, like what is the horizon that you kind of set yourself out for, right? So what we did was, we really started thinking about what is core to the business. Our options were, is it travel or is it going to be outside of travel? Now, for outside of travel, we really had to take a real big shift, right? And we had built this entire bunch of technology, the relationships in place, the people team, etc. And so we thought, look, our core strength continues to be in travel. Travel is going to come back. It's a matter of, how do we make sure that we conserve ourselves for when things come back. And so we've had to kind of think about the business in that standpoint. But there was an element of pivot in terms of consolidation, right? And so from kind of trying to realize where the core strengths are, we essentially started working more towards Umrah, and so the brand UmrahMe is the one that kind of became our pivot focus. And within that, we started really working on, multiple new aspects, waiting for when that business kind of starts to come back. So we added, multiple lines of business. We continue to add more within Umrah. So we trying, what we really basically were doing is just expand on the number of offerings that we had and the opportunity to cross-sell within, but with the clear intent that, we are going to be staying in travel, but we also believe that Umrah is going to come back sooner, than some of these other areas of travel. And I think, and we've, in hindsight, we can clearly see that, right? Whilst leisure travel has had some increase, at least in the business that we were in, but we clearly see that Umrah, the uptake has been just significantly higher. So because we had to conserve, which means we had to become a much leaner and a smaller organization, we decided to be more laser focused around one area. And that's kind of clearly paying off. So cost structures were lower. Our ability to become profitable was at a level where, even the business hit 20-30% of the levels that we used to do, we could actually become profitable, and so on and so forth, right? So I think those things are what you really look at, right? I mean, can you pivot completely? Look, I mean, we're a travel company. We can't start, becoming, yeah, exactly. We can't start doing what Darren's doing, right? I mean, that's not going to happen. So clearly we had to play to our strengths and our advantage. And then we also had to have that belief that the business that we were in, for fundamental reasons, is a core business and is something that's going to always come back. And that's been our philosophy. So the pivot has been in terms of more kind of, focusing the organization in one direction with a much leaner kind of strength, but becoming more laser focused. So we actually make a much bigger impact. Right. And I think that's really what we kind of see now.
Kamarul? Your turn.
Yeah, sure. I touched a little bit earlier as well, and then the same story. I mean, nobody can peer through the fog of uncertainty. We can't really tell when it was going to end. But when it first happened in March or April, that was when we were really affected as well. This is in 2020. Immediately, we were affected. We just won a huge global contract at that time for hospitality. Everything was like cancelled immediately. So what we did was really not pivot, but really just a rethink. How can we survive these uncertainties, right? We look at our core. I mean, it's very clear for us that we are in the digital transformation industry, and we use a lot of data analytics and all that, and we basically just refocus where can this expertise that we have, technology that we have, can be used during this strange, uncertain time. So the first one was, I mean, it took us a little bit of time to actually put something together. The first thing that we did was really to provide something on a CSR basis for the government of Malaysia. And then I'll come back to that later on, how that actually turned out to be a very nice thing for Aerodyne as well. So immediately at that time, we thought of an idea of why don't we use drone to help monitor the compliance of the lockdown, really, in Malaysia. So at that time, it was big news in Malaysia. There's like 90 drones are being used by the law enforcement agency. That's the Malaysian police and also the army as well. And guess what? And not many people know this. 60 out of those 90 drones are actually from Aerodyne. And we did this on a CSR basis. And not only we delivered drones, but we also provided the teams as well to develop a new solution that help monitor the compliance and predict where non-compliance will happen as well. So we developed new analytics platform, and out of that, we end up with a geospatial intelligence platform as well. So it was a very interesting time for us as well to actually then prove to everyone that drone can have a very significant impact in monitoring border security, in monitoring the compliance to MCO, and so on and so forth, right? So that was a very interesting time. And we continue to provide these solutions for about 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, our drones collectively flew twice around the world, out the drones that we had to fly. So out of that, it was not a pivot. We realized that this can be expanded to something even more meaningful as well. So we started to develop a nested drone system, which again, as I mentioned earlier, was launched yesterday in Dubai. And this is a groundbreaking. So at the same time, while people were cutting down their numbers or letting people off, we actually were hiring new bunch of people. We were hiring data scientists, we were hiring a technical team, and we started to develop a nested swarm intelligence platform, something that we've been working under the hood over the past 1 year. And now we have a solution that is ready as well. And this is the future of drone itself. If you look at what's available in the market today, drones are really where you operate them. You need pilots to operate this drone. And the operator behind it, they are not just pilots, but they're also the engineers that are using this tool to get the intelligence that they needed, for example, to look after the assets. For example, to even look at the conditions of the border itself. Not anymore. In our predictions, the future is where these drones are no longer drones as you see it that way, but rather it's actually aerial robots, smart aerial robots. All that you need to do is actually define mission objective, and this drone will go out and run the mission by itself with very minimal human intervention. Now think about it. Without COVID, we wouldn't have really end up with this solution. This is a totally new vertical for Aerodyne as well. So that's actually how we've been managing the pandemic. Business as usual sort of came back again early this year. And now, of course, we have 2 new verticals that added a significant percentage to our revenue.
Okay, thanks, Kamarul. Darren, your death care side?
I think, as Geet said, we believe in our core offering, so we didn't pivot in terms of changing direction of the business, but we did have to pivot in terms of how we operated the business. So I think that was the key area we were faced with. If we think back to maybe 18 months ago, we're faced with an unknown enemy, a pandemic. The seriousness of it was unknown. The effectiveness of it was unknown at that time. We had staff, frontline staff, coming into contact with cases on an immediate basis from a pandemic being announced. There's a shortage of PPE in the UK, maybe worldwide, I'm not sure, but certainly in the UK it was a big issue. So we had to pivot really in terms of rethinking our strategy of how we deliver the services rather than whether the core offering of the business was right. So I think the biggest lesson for us throughout all of it is, I think we used to say that the company that we lived in 3 years later was based on decisions we made today, but I think the pandemic changed all of that. I don't think you could plan, and it's taught that the best laid plans are often worthless. So I think the biggest lesson for us really was agility, and we've learned to change our business and how we adapt and on a daily basis just change to face what's an unknown future for all of us, really. So yes, we did pivot, but only pivot operationally rather than our core offering.
Okay, thank you guys. Basically, what we have been listening on about pivoting, right? We thought that, you just forgo your original plans and pivot to try into a new venture. So it's all about survival. And the topic today is about winning. So you need to survive first, then thinking about winning, right? So Kamarul, initially you thought you are on the survival mode, but at the same time you are into the expansion mode as well. So how actually do you realize that, hey, doing the CSR, getting into new contracts, do you actually anticipate it earlier, or it just come by chance, or the pandemic itself actually accelerate things, to bring down the time of execution from 3 years to now? So what are your thoughts on digitalization, bring it forward because of this pandemic? Over to you, man.
Yeah, sure. Actually, when the pandemic first started, really, we didn't know how long this is going to last. All that I knew is that I had 400 people at that time, and almost 100 of them have very little to do. So it was really survival as well. We were trying to manage our productivity and all that. So when we first started to offer that solution, it was really about doing a CSR, because I do not want to let go of my team, because these are some of the best talent in the world that are already working with us, right? And we were monitoring things, I dare even say, on daily basis. We were adapting, we were looking at what we are doing globally, and fortunately as well for us, because we have presence in 35 countries, the timing of the pandemic is actually varies a little bit from one country to another. The hardest hit region in the beginning actually is the one that recover first as well. So in the end, at the end of the day, at any given time, we were almost business as usual. But because of the concern of what's happening in the world at that time, that's why we started to think of how else can we use our technology to save the world. In simple terms, how else can we contribute to humanity? And again, it's really about agriculture. When we go into it, we understand that we realize that, especially in Malaysia, we have problem with food security. We are importing food into Malaysia on average 1 billion every single week. That's a huge problem statement that came knocking on my door at that time. We were thinking, hey, how can technology help solve this problem? And the problem became even worse because of the lockdown and whatnot, right? So again, we look down, we look at the situation, and we realize our drone can help with the mechanization. Fruits were rotting in Malaysia at that time. So we started small, of course. I mean, it's not like we take a deep jump into the new vertical. We tested and we validate the solution, and we just basically grew from there. And the market basically opened up to the solutions because they really needed something to solve this challenge that they had at that time. And very quickly, within a couple of months, they wanted us to scale, and at the same time, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of the depth of the work itself. So it was just a natural situation, and we even have a division within the organization that keep tabs of what's happening around the world. Managing resource was also not an easy thing as well. So we like transferring resource from one region to another. Optimizing our focus into the R&D, optimizing our focus in developing the new solutions and all that. Really, we do not have a clue on how things will unfold. All that we know is that we need to come up with something sustainable. We need to come up with something meaningful. Our vision is to, bring deep solutions to humanity. And what we did is really about doing that. And fortunately, it works very well for us as well. So it's about continuous improvement. It's about connecting to what's happening out there, getting the feedback, listening to what's happening, and then predicting as well. And at the same time, when people were letting people off, we were actually hiring them as well, because we were expecting some pickup in some region and so on and so forth. So it's all about being persistent. It's all about keep going during the difficult time, because we believe in what we are doing, and we believe that behind every crisis there's opportunity. If you look at in the past as well, Ryanair became big out of the last economic crisis as well, and we believe we are on the same track as them as well. So that's how we manage the situation.
Okay, Kamarul, you are one of the lucky few that actually can capitalize during this crisis. But unfortunately for Geet, I'm coming on to you now. Okay, survival from hero to zero, right? Hospitality, travel. So how do you actually not talking about winning? You're talking just about survival. How many staff do you retrench? Or then how do you actually manage the cost, whereby knowing that your runway is getting shorter and shorter? So this is, I think, the food for thought, especially for budding young entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs. To learn, from the one that badly affected as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think to win, you first need to survive, right? And I think, and there's examples of people going up, coming down, coming up again, and I think one has to keep that faith within. But faith alone doesn't kind of get you far. Hope is not a strategy. You just need to really sit down with your team and figure out what are we really targeting, right? And so, like I said, at every point you take a view that, hey, we think this is going to last for the next 6 months. We got so much cash, we know we're not making any revenues, right? Revenues were almost zero for 10 months, right? And nobody has that kind of cash to sit with zero revenues for so many months. But so we really needed to kind of figure out, what's the maths that we need to do to essentially be able to do that. Then comes the really, really harder part. The maths is the easy part. It just tells you, hey, this is what you need to do. The harder part is actually executing it, right? You're talking about people here. So we livelihood, and I think, it clearly by a mile was one of the most difficult time that we went through in terms of. So we had two rounds that we had to do. One was in March, where our view was that things will kind of be okay by June, July. And then when we actually, over a period, we had to really, we had to really become lean. So, we probably laid off about 70% of our staff, which was, the most unfortunate thing that we've had to do. But it was that, and it was something that travel industry around the globe was suffering. Some of the largest airlines here had to take even worse steps. So it was just mayhem. Whilst we did it, the entire leadership, the management team, obviously shared the pain, and we did our bit in terms of making sure that we shared the cost reduction elements that were needed at that point in time. So we had to do all of that. But we were also kind of fortunate that on two parts. One, that our core team kind of stood to essentially look at solving this and figuring out, hey, what do we need to do? So they all came together, right? I mean, I think the culture and the team, I'm really blessed in that sense that we have a culture and the team that all of us kind of came together and figured out, hey, we need to solve this problem. We are in this together, and we've got to figure out what steps we need to take, right? So that was that. And then secondly, obviously, our investors also came up and were very, very, helpful in terms of helping out. We raised some additional funds and stuff like that. But I also have to say that all of this was possible because everyone believed in the fundamental value proposition that we offered, which we had seen do so well, right? Yeah, COVID is nobody's fault, right? I mean, so it happened, it was out there, and we had to just kind of make sure that we lived through it. But we also realized that just kind of sitting around and twiddling our thumbs is not going to solve the problem, right? So we have to be ready for when this market kind of comes back. And that's where we really spent much more time in terms of sharpening our technology, our addressable market points where we needed to go to, and so on and so forth. So we really kind of came back together, redesigning our our processes, our technology mainly. And I think that's clearly showing off in terms of the results, right? Business restarted at a certain level in Jan of this year, but at a very small level. Again, by March, April, there was another wave, and then again it stopped. But now again, we kind of, seeing that kind of come back, and we've now restarted hiring. In about 18 months, we've now started hiring people back. And I think we clearly see that, things are moving well in the right direction. So yeah, so it's been one of those journeys, real roller coaster. We were, 360 people. We had to go down below 100. And I think we are at a position where we are starting again. But I also have to say that for us to now, what the organization, and this is really where the crux of it comes about. In every crisis, there is an opportunity, and for us, the opportunity was just to regroup ourselves and make an organization which is really a stronger organization, right? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I think we kind of seeing that. I mean, just to give you an example, if we were to ever go back to the same volumes and the numbers, I don't think so our organization size will be more than 100, 120. So at 1/3 the cost structure, we can actually now cater to the same level of business that we used to pre-pandemic. And that's really where, the strength has kind of come about, if you know what I mean, right? So it's just purely through technology, automation, and doing more in terms of how can we do more with less. And that's really become the mantra within the organization to kind of think about how we do business. So there's been a lot of learnings. I think, and hopefully this has kind of been one of those things which possibly turns out as a blessing in disguise.
Okay, Darren, on papers, you should be the lucky one because of the casualties, right? But does it actually does your business actually thrive during COVID?
If you look at raw numbers, then yes. If you look at income, then yes. But actually, what I think many of us don't know yet is what is the actual true cost? How will all this turn out? I was interested in listening to one of the previous speakers. I think Tom was his name, but he said that if this pandemic has not taught business, if it's not taught industry, if it's not taught everybody that digital transformation is the future, then there's something seriously wrong. And I think from that point of view, we've probably won long term. Short term, there has to be some psychological effects for staff. There has to be some human cost to all of this in terms of our staff have worked harder than they've ever worked. They've worked under more challenging circumstances. So we can't just look at it in terms of, much as I like to as CEO, can we look at it just in terms of revenue? Can we look at it just in terms of an increase in business? Yes, that's all great. But we also do have to factor in the human element of it. And the fact that, you know, I think we'll only really know in the months and years to come whether we've won or not.
So basically, making inroads, the technology making inroads in the UK, whereby, you know, rather than doing the normal postmortem, now you're using it at digital. So is the company making inroads now?
I think for anybody who's sat in this room who's tried to bring in disruptive technology, there's a period of where you have to try and demonstrate to people that your technology is actually worthwhile and can transform. For us, the pandemic proved that. So where we used to have a briefcase, knock on doors and try and explain the benefits of technology, we now have people knocking on our doors to try and see how actually they can access the technology and whether it's financially viable for them to access technology. So in that respect, we're no longer selling, we are receiving inquiries. So I guess we're fortunate in that way. Yeah.
Okay, getting back to Kamarul. Earlier we talked about survival, right? So talking about the top today, winning is the only thing, right? So let's say that because of the pandemic, we lost actually 24, at most 24 months, right? Are you really on track on, you know, getting into where you want to go as per the early business plan, or are you actually making a new business plan because of your new verticals?
Right. Yeah. Sure. I mean, we basically lost 2 years by force measure because of the pandemic, right? So to a certain extent, the new vertical that we developed give us far bigger business potential. Moving forward, our trajectory is actually of a different scale as well, out of the new focus that we have done. But that doesn't take away the fact that the 2 years are lost forever. I mean, there's no way that we can get it back. So yeah, I mean, there has been some impact in terms of bottom line for us in terms of our financials. But the growth of the company are now, I would say, even 3 times, even 5 times than what we were projecting by 2022. Now our pipeline are far more stronger as well. But of course, again, the direct impact was the slowdown on our core business. So we were affected. We saw our revenue of the business as usual component side of our business drop quite significantly, to be honest as well. I think we lost, in the first 6 months, we lost about 80% of our business. And then this was offset by the new revenue stream that we developed as well. So I say, all in all, it was an eye-opening experience, not what we would have wanted. But in a way, I'm glad as well, because it really opened up our mind. It really actually pushes us to rethink about how we do things. Because of this as well, we developed new management system. Now managing 12 offices around the world with close to 700 now. And soon to hit 1,000, we needed a stronger. We already have our own management system before, but now that we are operating at a different level, we needed something a little bit more sophisticated as well. So we have a division that look at our transformation. We were doing a digital transformation for our client, and we actually use this time to actually look at the way we do things as well. So we develop new management systems. So today, for example, we really are able to have our pulse into our global operations. We have near real-time data of what's happening around the world. So that actually prepares us to grow to the next level as well. So to cut a long story short, to answer your question, yes, we are affected. But at the same time, it opened up a far bigger opportunity as well. And because of that, we are actually feeling extremely bullish about where we are in. But we do lose that. Unfortunately, we do lose that 2 years.
Okay, great, bro. Geet, you were talking about business now coming up. We lost that 2 years. So what are you thinking now? Because people are actually screaming to travel. And for the Muslim, they are actually willing to die to go to Mecca, right? For Umrah and for Hajj, for that matter. Are you ready? And can you make lost time, that 2 years, to actually, because of the pent-up demand, can you actually make up for the lost time that you had in the previous years?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a phrase that's coming about, and it's called revenge travel. Right? Yeah. Well, I think that's for for others to worry about. But I'm just saying, so there is a concept of revenge travel, right? People want to travel so desperately, and I think we can clearly see that. I mean, in the US, and I happened to be there in the summer, and I was at Denver airport, and honestly, it's one of the busiest airports that I've kind of seen ever. Like, no one could have thought about that. There's a pandemic going on, and US had obviously kind of managed to control it, then kind of went up again. But whilst it was in control, people were just flocking and traveling. And I think we're clearly seeing that. I mean, I have to say that the growth percentage that I'm seeing in our business is something I've never seen, right? And so that is something which gives us a lot of confidence as to where the potential can be. And as more and more markets open up, right? We are now hearing Malaysia opening up from Monday, where you're interstate travel, and then international travel. So yeah, exactly. So that's kind of started to happen. You can see, Dubai is pretty much open, and so on and so forth. Can we make up for lost time? I don't think so. We can ever make up for lost time. Time gone is gone, right? I think those 2 years are those 2 years, which is gone. But I do think that human beings are very resilient people. They kind of bounce back, and they bounce back to old habits. And especially if those habits have been refrained from them for a while, they really want to bounce back. So I think we really think that a lot of these people, a lot of people around the world want to travel. Religious travel globally is just waiting to happen. And like you said, right? I mean, people who want to do Umrah, a lot of loved ones have been lost, and as a result of that, there's another reason why people want to pay their homage by performing Umrah. And I think we can kind of see that. So I think my view is that by 2023, we should see almost 90% of travel coming back. By 2024, 2025, I think we'll clearly not normalize. I think it'll be beyond what 2019 numbers were. So I think yeah, well, abnormal, yeah. And the growth is abnormal, right? What is happening right now, the speed at which this is returning back is something that we haven't really seen before, at least in our business, right? I mean, we've been doing this for the last 7+ years, 8 years almost. And the month-on-month numbers and how that is clocking back to return to normalcy is something very, very interesting to see.
Okay, Darren, coming back to you. Unfortunately, your sector is not that sexy as drone and as travel. But then again, you have a captive market. So what would be your plan actually to, we are already in the UK, right? Do you plan to to expand, especially in this part of the world. Even in Malaysia also, it's nice to have. You not necessary to have it, but how do you want to educate the government to to get into digitalization on the death care sector?
Nice, easy question. I think, as I said previously, when you're the proprietor of disruptive technology, it is difficult to change your mindset and change habit that's taken place for hundreds of years. My hope is that the pandemic will show to people that life and business, it never will be the same again. So that's my hope. In terms of reaching out, we've chosen the UK by not by a chance, by purpose. The coronial system and the death care system throughout the UK is respected throughout not only the Commonwealth but throughout the world. So we've proved that the technology is accepted there. The chief coroner in the UK has actually changed the law in the UK to accept our technology as a preference to invasive postmortems. So we're quite confident, but I think what we really need to look at potentially future investment and also future knowledge and expertise in is perhaps deploying via local partners in other areas throughout not only Europe but also globally. So yeah, definitely a plan. There are also some religious benefits towards our software for early release of the deceased and for dignity of the deceased. So we do come into our own in certain faith areas, such as the Muslim faith and also the Jewish faith as well. It's important for early release of the deceased and for non-desecration of the body. So yeah, we do have plans to expand, and probably I would think via local partners would be the best and fastest way to do that.
Okay, do we have any question from the floor? Anyone? Oh, okay. Our MC will chat virtual, but very interesting. I tried to finish it off with a jovial note, and we can have a lead. Kamarul, what would be your advice? We see entrepreneurs here from Malaysia, girl, and I think online or virtually. I don't have some are listening in. So what will be your your advice to people? Actually, if you ask me, you have to survive several crises or you can actually make it. And in this case, pandemic it shows that no one has that kind of crystal ball to actually plan what will be the next thing. So what will be advice? Let's say you have Delta right now. It could, the crisis could be from endemic to pandemic again. So are we ready for another one, or we are actually on straight path straight to the winning path? Over to you, man.
Actually, your line was breaking, but I'll try to answer based on what I think you asked. Right. But anyway, entrepreneurs are a crazy bunch, right? I mean, these are people who are relentless, people who keep going despite, going through one challenge after another. Even in our history, we are a 7-year-old company. We went through 9 crises in our lifetime. And each of these crises that we went through before would have been the death of Aerodyne if we were not able to solve them, right? So it's part and parcel of entrepreneurship. So to me, I would say bring it on, and I'm expecting more to come as well. So we entrepreneurs, we just need to be unstoppable. We just need to be creative. We need to always keep going and think of a way to solve our problem. I mean, the kind of problem that we had before was like, technology issue, scaling up issue, even funding issue. It's part of entrepreneurship. It's part of running a business. And my advice to anybody that want to do this as well, if that is your question that you had just now, it's really you have to ask whether you are ready for this as well. I currently I'm mentoring a lot of entrepreneurs as well. What I advise them always is really to have clarity of vision. You need to be clear about what you are doing, and you also have to ask yourself whether you are ready for this crazy journey. You know, it's a long, crooked, winding road. You know, you have to ask yourself whether you are insane enough to go into this journey. You know, and again, I think it's not just our experience. I'm sure fellow panelists went through the same. But to me, it's worth every heartbreak, every sacrifice that I have done, you know, to see the company grow. And then I think, and to see how we are able to solve a serious problem, how do we able to grow, you know, change people's lives, impact people's lives, you know, create opportunities, you know, transform lives. I think it's worth it. And my advice to anybody who wants to embark in this journey is to think to think and think and think whether you have the right mindset, whether you are prepared for this. If you are, then go for it. Just remember that it's not a straightforward journey. You have to keep thinking, and you need to build a very, very strong team, a team of believers, people who believe in you, and you really do need this trusted hearts and mind around you for you to survive. And it's not really just about technology; it's people and technology.
Okay, basically, in one word, you must be resourceful, right? To every storm that you'll be meeting later in life, in your journey for you.
Absolutely, and it will come in the most unexpected way. You know, and it will also come from within as well. We have challenges from within, we have challenges from the outside, but you just keep going, you just keep trying new things, you know, and never stop. You know, my average day, for example, today, even after 7 years, I still wake up daily around 5 a.m. You know, and it was just too many things to do, but I'm enjoying every moment of it. You know, so you must have that kind of mentality and mindset that you want to do this because you really want to, in my case, because I want to really impart real change to society, and seeing it materialize actually allows you to just keep going. You know, your mind has always to you know, be thinking about how can you define the future rather than letting the future define you. And I think that's a strong enough driver for any entrepreneurs as well.
Okay, man. You are the most affected one. So,
The virtual question.
oh, okay, I go to the first, then the virtual question. Your advice. I think your advice will be very, very valuable, whereby from X amount of revenue to almost zero. So, you know, then you have to live for 10 months without revenue. What would be your advice to the current entrepreneur and the would-be entrepreneur?
Look, first of all, I'll echo everything that Kamarul said. I think it was very, very valid. I mean, in one word, if I were to define it, I mean, we've had similar instances. We've had at least 5 instances where the company could have had existential problems, right? So we've had, including the COVID one that I'm talking about. But I think the one thing that kind of gets you through this is grit, is just persistence, it's just not giving up. It's just kind of keep finding solutions to the problems that you need to solve at that point in time, right? So yeah, it's all about grit, and it does need a different mentality, right? And the mentality is of not giving up. Now, whilst this is all like, core to you is how strong you are as an individual, and I also do firmly believe that entrepreneurship is, it may look rosy from the outside, but it is a tough journey, right? I mean, there are very few who just have had it, just have had a breeze through their journey, right? I mean, it is a tough journey, right? Nothing in life ever came so easy. But so this is, in terms of the qualitative aspects. I also believe very clearly that, running a business is a lot about quantitative aspects, and you really need to have your eye on it, right? I mean, in terms of figuring out how my business is performing, what do I need, how am I going to make, how am I going to grow? If there's a certain crisis, what are my backup plans? you know, in a crisis like ours, right? 10 months of zero revenue. How do you survive, right? And there are Excel sheets that come out every single day where you spend, you know, hours and hours figuring out, you know, where am I going to save my money? What do I need to do? How much money do I need to raise? What should my monthly spend be? What should my daily spend be? Should I be spending on this? Will that give me returns? Will that give me, you know, something new to kind of focus on, and so on and so forth. So I think business is really looking at, you know, I mean, entrepreneurship rather is really looking at your business uh, it can't be a bird's eye view. You really need to get into the details. So this is point two. The third thing, which I also think is super important, is having the right set of people. You need the right set of people to, you know, to help you kind of, you know, manage your way through the crisis, right? And I think that's again a super important thing that one really needs to be, because you cannot possibly do everything alone. You cannot, right? It's the team, and the team is something that really makes the biggest difference in, you know, how you kind of manage your way through crisis or through, you know, working on an opportunity and being successful. And I've seen it both ways, right? I've had pretty much the same team that was there where we were growing really well, pretty much the same team, you know, managed through the crisis, and the same team now where we started growing again. So I think, you know, these are three things I would say are something, you know, very important for an entrepreneur. Yeah.
I reiterate what the guys have said. Perhaps just a couple of things I could add would be, it's probably to surround yourself with people smarter than what you are, who can help in the journey and be prepared to listen. And there is absolutely no substitute for hard work. There is no substitute at all. If somebody's prepared to work 12 hours, then work 18. And I think if you can employ people with shared values, shared belief in what you're trying to achieve, who buy into the process, and I think as an entrepreneur as well, if you're willing to give a little back in terms of them sharing in your success and the business's success, then everybody wins. If we can create a win-win situation, then that's the best for everybody. And I think to be a successful entrepreneur, if you listen to what these two guys were saying earlier, probably said it more succinctly than me. They were both faced, particularly Geet, with a situation. And what they said really through all of it was just don't give up, never give in, find a way. It may look like it's the end of the road. It might look like a final obstacle, but it never is. Sleep on it, wake up, reevaluate it, and go again. Just do never stop.
Yeah, the online question is to the whole panel. Okay, so I mean, Shahril, I'll leave you to steer it along, but this is this question coming from one of our digital platforms. You all spoke very clear. I mean, this is according to the question. You all spoke very well about, you know, during the pivot, what you did in the times of crisis. The question is, did you look at any particular industry, what they were doing well, and how you could sort of copy and paste it or mimic it into your business for survival mode and growth mode as well? So that was the question as well.
Kamarul, any thought on that?
Well, I mean, it's sort of a barometer and to see, you know, what's happening out there and how other people are solving them. But I think problems are unique for every industry. We do look out for clues on how other people are doing it. But at the end of the day, it's our problem. We have to solve it our way, you know. and then our way is pretty much perhaps different to what other people are facing as well. And in my case, it was one of creating new technology in very short period of time, and I think it's very difficult for me to find an example out there of people solving their COVID issue with coming up with two new solutions. So, but of course, the inspiration and understanding how or rather feeling the grit and determination of how other people are solving their problem give us hope as well. But really, I mean, there's no. I would think that perhaps if you are in the same industry, you will be able to you know, be inspired on how other people are doing it. But in our case, because it's quite a new industry, new, so it's quite difficult for us to sort of take some clues from how other people are doing it.
So basically, there's no template for you to follow, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's real template. I mean, of course, they are same thing. Tighten your belt, reduce your costs.
Yeah, that's normally.
Yeah, but that's not how you can really bring yourself out of the pandemic, really. And I think, but the simple formula for all of them is really about thinking and rethinking and trying until you find yourself a solution. I mean, I talk about the 2 that worked well for us. There were probably another 5 or 6 that did not work well, but we quickly canned them, basically, right?
I think for hospitality, I think it's tough for hospitality. I think for iGene, you are actually unique into this space. Yeah. So I think good answers for the 2 of them. Do you have any more virtual question? Oh, no more. Okay. Okay, 3 hashtags from all of you.
Hard work, determination, agility.
Yeah, I would say persistence, team, and hard work. Yeah.
So last but not least, Kamarul.
Unstoppable, relentless, and focus. Sorry, I can't hear you actually.
Are you in front of Thesaurus?
Oh no, I wish I am.
Okay, guys. Okay, thank you for your time, especially Kamarul. Is actually around 10 there, right? 9:30 kan? 9 around 9 plus.
Yeah.
So I think if you guys have anything, then you can always one question, last question. I think one last question.
Kindly stand up, ma'am. I'll give you the microphone. Introduce yourself.
Sorry, bro. One last
Hi.
question before we wrap up.
My name is Amanda, and I'm an entrepreneur myself. I run a perception strategy firm. My question is to all 3 of you. See, as entrepreneurs, when we start diversifying and differentiating in different fields, we tend to compete, one with technology and the other one with people. I think you'll address both in the last segment. And I have an issue finding a balance between the 2. While we're addressing different kinds of crisis situations, we tend to move towards the technology aspect. We reduce on the number of people. We're automating stuff. Even governments, different big MNCs, we start automating things and move towards the technology area, and we reduce on the number of people. But at the same time, after the pandemic, I've seen my clients come back to me and say, you know what, we're having a problem with technology, and then we need more people to assist us. Can you put your team onto us? And today, I think we're kind of battling between both. How do we maintain a balance and across different segments, different industries and sectors? And this will help me counsel my clients as well. So if you have any thoughts on that.
So let me understand. So you're basically saying that, as an organization, you want to focus more on technology, but then you get pulled into, calling more people to solve the same problem. Is this how? So I think there are a couple of ways to look at it. I think the technology is then not complete in terms of solving the problem. So you really focus on making the technology more complete. And it takes time. It is not something that you're going to be able to solve in one day or in a month or whatever, right? It's a continuous process. It eventually gets there, right? Look, and I'm kind of taking the philosophical element out of the equation here, but as a business, the more focus on technology and automation, will only help you, create better value for yourself and for your customers and other stakeholders. So the real element here is that you keep striving towards making technology better in solving those problems. Now, again, there are certain problems where technology is never going to be able to solve, right? So if it is about relationships, it is about care, it is about, the soft touch, technology can only do so much. I think, and you can't take the human elements. I don't know what your business specifically does, but, let's just say if, someone's a nurse, technology can only do so much to replace the human touch. Just an example. So I think, it depends on the industry, but generally, I think world over, people are kind of moving more towards automation. I'm a big fan of technology and automation, per se, because it just kind of eases up so many things in terms of delivering what you really want to deliver quicker, cheaper, better, and so on and so forth. So I think that's the way to think about it. It's not a problem that you'll be able to solve, quickly. It's a continuous process, and every time you think you've gotten there, there's more to be done. I don't know if it helps.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to answer that from a different perspective, in a situation where technology actually replaces people and thereby causing another round of problem as well. And that's something that happens constantly when we do digital transformation as well, right? So to me, how we address this is actually by repurposing the talents that are involved in doing the jobs in the work in the first place. And by doing so, we strike the right balance in terms of making sure that by doing our digital transformation using technology, you do not end up making a bunch of people or a huge number of people being out of jobs. So how we've been handling this is actually one of sustainable approach. So we work on actually repurposing these people, retraining them as well, so that they can all be part of the equation. So I'm when I hear the question again, I couldn't get the full question because the line was breaking. But I'm just thinking that maybe your question is also about how do we make sure that you strike the right balance between jobs and also doing the transformation.
I think we had a very similar problem early in our journey where our process completely replaced people, or that was the way it was perceived. But actually, if you're building an ecosystem, which is what we tried to do and have successfully done, then we've retrained people in digital technology and brought them along on the journey rather than either or. So the balance is the difficulty. I think that's something only you will ever find, but I think it's got to be seen as a complete ecosystem rather than replacing people with technology. And that's the balance. And then often you can actually, the fact that people tend to see it as a supplement, retrain, become more highly skilled, actually buy into the journey more and become more invested in it and actually become believers in it and can become your best advocates if you do it right. And I think that's the best way.
Guys, thanks again. I think I wrap up this session and hand it over to.
Okay, thanks very much, Shahril. Shahril, very, very well moderated session. And a big round of applause, everybody, for our panel. Kamarul, in typical Malaysian spirit, we Malaysians love two things very much: food and photographs. So you need to stay online after this so we can have a group photograph with the whole panel. Okay, so please stay on. Don't press end just yet because,
All right,
so yeah, you're here and smiling. Thank you so much. And we do apologize to your family if we are keeping up your time. But ladies and gentlemen, from the physical floor right here, virtual floor, wherever you are around the world, in Malaysia, in Portugal, South America, North America, these four gentlemen have really, really given strong substance to the topic of when the only option was to win. And as entrepreneurs, as startup, we're always thinking about winning. And they just said it themselves. They all spoke about hard work. They all spoke about pivoting. They all spoke about looking at things from different perspectives. But we'll summarize this by, instead of saying hard work, because that's what most entrepreneurs say, we will sum it up by saying go hard, go not so fast, but always go very, very smart. So, and these four gentlemen have given a lot of light to those lines right there. So I think we're going to tell our social media team to put that in the antidote when they view this video right here as a summary of that. So round of applause to our panel once again, please, ladies and gentlemen. So this leads us to our closing of day 2. On behalf of everybody here, the Cradle Funds and the Berhad team, the Dubai Expo team, everybody behind the scenes working tirelessly. Thank you. I mean, we thank you for watching, and you know, I thank my colleagues for ever working so hard. But this is only day 2, just to let you know what's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow is day 3. We still have a business matching sessions that are going on, and business matching is not something that we record on the camera, but it's very much the entrepreneurs here, whether they're from, regardless of which expo, I mean, not expo they're from, but which country they're from. There's Dubai Expo, there's other countries, they're coming here to explore Malaysia, explore the opportunities, and explore the collaborations and conversations, and sometimes using cookies to really further the conversation along in terms of how business can be done together, not just within Malaysia, but internationally as well. We keep saying that a lot, but that is the purpose of Dubai Expo. So tomorrow there'll be a business matching at 10:30, and then at about and a second session of business matching at 12 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock we have a panel session that will be moderated by Encik Farid Muhammad Rosli from Malaysian Debt Ventures, and the topic right is venture debt in Southeast Asia, present landscape challenges and opportunities. So that's another great topic that's coming up tomorrow. And 3:50 also from Malaysia Debt Ventures. This will be Zuri Rashid. He'll be moderating the topic MDV's technology startup experience. So they'll be talking about the startup point of view and perspective on many things right there. So that'll be a very good session as well, and a very, very big session as well. And there's about 5 speakers on the panel as well. And then after that, but throughout the course of this event, I mean, the Dubai Expo 20, it's all about networking, building those relationships, because as all good entrepreneurs always say, it's not about so much about the know-how, it's about relationships and network. And relationships and networks are getting bigger, not day by day, by minute by minute. Okay, so thank you so much. 9:10 over there in Malaysia, 5:10 here in Dubai, and it's in the middle. I mean, it's early morning in Europe and other parts of the world as well. But please keep joining us for this Dubai Expo 2020 Malaysia right here at the pavilion. My name is Ben Ibrahim, MC and moderator, and just Chief Entertainment Officer of this great event. I think that I'm the unofficial title for that. Keep joining us, keep asking great questions, keep sharing, and we love it. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great night, have a great day, wherever you are around the world. Dubai Expo 2020.